Am I the asshole for refusing to help Tanya, my boyfriend's mother who is supposedly dying, and instead planning a trip to Europe? I am 25 years old and live with my boyfriend Liam, who is 24. About a month ago, his mom Tanya started claiming she was dying of cancer, but no diagnosis has ever been confirmed. Every time she goes to the hospital, she gets sent home. One nurse even told Liam she might be faking it. It all started when she stayed what was supposed to be just one night at our one-bedroom apartment, but that turned into a week of chaos. She refused to use the air conditioning or fans because she said they hurt her skin, but then would blow-dry her hair every day. The apartment smelled terrible, everything had to be dark and quiet, and she kept demanding help. She even stormed into our bedroom at 3 in the morning asking Liam for massages. Mind you, we sleep naked, so that was pretty awkward. She criticized our Buddhist souvenirs, insisted we hang a cross, which I did, and complained non-stop. She suggested that we move in with her, which was an hour away from our jobs and school. I am a full-time student with 2 jobs and a 4 GPA, and I was starting to fall behind. Liam works full-time but switched to remote work. His boss hated this to care for Tanya. Her health updates were always changing. She said she needed an MRI, then canceled surgery, then chemo was postponed because of an infection, then she had E. coli. There was always a new reason. No clear diagnosis or paperwork. When her husband David, who is the one funding her lifestyle, was away, she made us go to her house to get her jewelry because she thinks he will steal it when she dies. She claims he's an alcoholic. We were supposed to take her to the emergency room right after that, but instead, we ended up staying 16 hours doing chores. I folded 420 items of clothing, cleaned the whole house, and felt like her unpaid maid. Not a single please or thank you. She was stalling to go to the emergency room, and when we finally got there at 5 in the morning, she said she'd check herself in and sent us home. 3 hours later, she called again, sobbing for help. She had been rejected by the ER. I suspect she faked it. Liam and I have both been skipping meals, losing sleep, and falling behind at work to help her. Liam once said he's waiting for her to pass away so we can move to Europe. He's been forced to manage her divorce, lawyer meetings, and funeral preparations. Meanwhile, David, who is paying the hospital bills and had been kept in the dark about all this, sent Liam aggressive texts like "I call bullshit" and "don't show up at my house anymore," then later apologized. Tanya called again begging for help. But this time, she wanted me to help because David is jealous of Liam. I had clearly told Liam I needed that weekend to study for final exams. Going to her house alone seemed sketchy. Now I'm planning a 2 to 3 week trip to Europe to see my mom, whom I haven't seen in over a year. Liam says he supports it but called it a little selfish. He's asked, "If I were dying, would you quit your job to be with me? And if it were your mom, would you help her?" I felt pressured to say yes, but honestly my family wouldn't lie to me or use me like this. I love Liam and want to be there for him, but I don't trust his mom, and this situation is starting to affect our relationship. Am I the asshole for refusing to help Tanya and going home to Europe? Story 2. My sister wants my husband, her brother-in-law, to lie on her behalf, and I don't feel comfortable pressuring him into it. My 27-years-old female sister, 34-years-old female, just moved back to our hometown and is living with our parents, who don't charge her rent. She has a very good job and is in no need of money, lives rather luxuriously. Her new job will cover $2,000 of rent for 2 months while she gets settled if she provides a record of a lease. She doesn't plan on using it within the required timeframe since she likes living with our parents. She sees an opportunity to make $4,000 by having my husband, since he doesn't share the same last name as her, write a fake sublease agreement so she can receive the stipend from her job, which is a large private company. She asked him, and he was clearly uncomfortable. She then followed up with, "I totally understand if you don't want to, no pressure at all." He said he'd think about it, kindly of course because he is non-confrontational. In talking to him just the two of us, he is uncomfortable, especially since this isn't the first time she's asked him to do something like this. Last time he complied. Even though it's not lying to an official agency, which has minimal risk, and she would be taking money from a big company that is ready to spend it. He doesn't like being pressured into compromising his morals. Sometimes I get frustrated at this too. He really is a rule follower. But his moral compass is something so core to who he is, and one of the reasons I love him. My sister followed up with me privately today to see if he made a decision, and I told her that it made him uncomfortable, but it wasn't a definite no. I asked if she could ask one of her good friends instead. She already had, and that friend said no. My sister then keeps pressing me, saying it's a lot of money and no risk. When I said I'd take it back to my husband now that we know there's no other option, she got really mad at me. She is holding a grudge and is sick of this in-between yes and no, as if this didn't warrant discussion. She is mad at both me and my husband, saying we are inconsiderate. Am I the asshole? Update. Brought it back up to my sister and told her it's a no. She's already holding a grudge, but at least that means she didn't want to talk to me anymore about it lol. I apologized to my husband and we're good. Thank you all for making me realize the errors of my ways. And to those who were asking about what's in it for me, she wasn't planning on giving us a cut at all. Story 3. My boyfriend is 32 years old and I am 29 years old, and we have been together for 2 years now. The other week, she was talking to me and called me by my full first name. I don't dislike my first name at all, but I told her how I would prefer if she called me by my shortened name because it sounds sexier and just better to me when she calls me that. Similar to Joseph, Joe, Stephen, Steve, and so on. She said sure, but she told me I need to have my mom stop calling me by my full first name and my friend's wife, who calls me by my full first name. That is an extremely weird thing to me, and I don't think she's understanding where I'm coming from. It's just a preference of mine, and I'm not going to tell my mom and friend's wife to call me by my short name. It's not an insecurity of mine either, I just would prefer if my partner called me by my short name. The arguments caused over this have been ridiculous. I think my girlfriend is feeling like I'm giving other people extra permissions to call me something that I don't want her to call me, and it's upsetting her. I don't think she's understanding where it's coming from. Maybe I should just drop it and let her call me whatever since it's becoming an issue since I brought it up. Am I the asshole? TLDR, I told my boyfriend I would prefer to be called by my shortened first name, but he says it's not right of me to ask since other people call him by his full name. It's a preference of mine since he's my partner. Am I the asshole? Story 4. Basically, my dad wants to accommodate John, his brother, and 2 of his friends to crash at our house for 5 nights during their vacation. The problem is that this came up unexpectedly, and it's a last-minute thing. I told him it's not a good idea since our house is small, and we don't have enough room for them, and he got pissed off. Here's the situation. We have another uncle Mike, who has 3 rooms to spare and is richer than my family. He's also my dad's brother and related to John. So, if anyone should be hosting, it looks like Mike should be the one. Funny thing is that he's somehow going on vacation out of the blue once John mentioned that he was looking for a place to stay. My mom is with me on this, and she knows that she'd be the one cleaning up after them, and my dad wouldn't do anything to help. She's already stressed about this. My uncle booked a year in advance because he's retired and somehow didn't plan out where to stay. How do you book a vacation and not plan where you're going to stay? That just seems weird to me, honestly. My dad insists that they should stay because they already left all their baggage at our place. I told him before that they will use that as an excuse to stay, and look, here we are now. I said it's fine if they want to leave their baggage with us but not both. We had them over last year at my condo, but it's rented now, so that's no longer an option. My dad is worried that my uncle will return home, which is in another country, and tell bad things about him if we don't accommodate them. But that's not quite right because Mike has the room and doesn't want them to stay either. I just don't get why they would say bad things if there is a valid reason we can't accommodate them. My dad also has a habit of making bad decisions, and I don't trust his judgment in this case. On top of that, I have 2 brothers who are in agreement with me. So, it's not just me who thinks this is a bad idea. It's the consensus of the immediate family. TLDR. My dad wants to let my uncle and his two friends stay at our house for 5 days, but this came up last minute, and I don't think it's a good idea because we don't have enough space. My mom and two brothers agree, but my dad is worried about what they'll say about him. Am I the asshole for telling him no? Story 5. Am I the asshole for kicking my mother out? I am a 46-year-old woman, and I have never had a good relationship with my mother. Recently, my mother has been playing the sad song because she was unhappy where she was living and literally told me every lie she could in order to move into my house. Some examples are: I am being kicked out, I am going to have to live in my car, they are mean to me and abuse me, and so on. Knowing my mother's history, I went against my better judgment and allowed her to move in with me and my son, who is 25 years old, knowing she was going to disrupt my home. But at the end of the day, she is my mom, and I cannot allow her to be homeless. Now, let's fast forward to the present day. My mother has a history of medication abuse. She is a pill popper. She also plays the victim and martyr a lot. She talks badly about everyone around her, and nothing or no one is ever good enough. She is known to lie to get her way, and makes up horrible stories about people to get pity from anyone and anything that will listen. With that being said, I got a call from a paramedic this past weekend advising me that my mother was found passed out for 2 hours in her car in the parking lot of a gas station. I, of course, went to go get her. When I got to the gas station, I got her in my car, while my son took her car home, and I went into the gas station to purchase a drink. The cashier at the gas station, not knowing who I was, started telling me how she felt bad for the woman in the parking lot. She said she is having issues with the people she lives with, they are kicking her out, and she will have nowhere to go. To my knowledge, there are no issues in our home since April when she moved in. There has not been one single argument, raising a voice, or harsh words spoken. Everything has been just fine, yet she is making up lies to total strangers just for sympathy. My fear is she is going to run her mouth to the wrong person, and I will ultimately be thrown in jail for elder abuse based on lies. She lives in a stable environment. She has food, clothes, a good iPhone and iPad, and everything she needs to keep her entertained. A television, 2 cats that love her, air conditioning in this miserable Florida weather, and a car to come and go as she pleases. My home's harmony is completely screwed because of her constant negativity and need for attention. She is starting to affect both my and my son's mental health, and I am at a complete loss of what to do. So, would I be the asshole for asking my mother to leave, since she is telling everyone we are kicking her out, and making her homeless anyway? Story 6. Am I the asshole for accusing a kid of shoplifting? Hi, I work at a retail store. Last night, I saw a girl approximately 8 years old take a bracelet and put it in her pocket. However, I saw her take it back out when she brought it to show her mother, so I left it alone and continued to work on closing the store. When the daughter and mother were leaving, my associate told me she saw her put it back in her pocket. I went and asked, "Excuse me, just wanted to check that you didn't forget anything in your pocket." I used my normal friendly customer service voice. The girl showed me her pocket, and the bracelet was not in there. I bid them a good night, but I could tell they weren't happy. A few minutes later, the mother came in and said I should be ashamed of what I did and that I humiliated and traumatized her daughter. They were the only people in the store. I apologized and said that wasn't my intention and wished her a good night again. I understand why she would be upset, but I don't think it was fair to come and yell at me. Should I have not asked since I didn't actually see her take it? I feel bad. Am I the asshole? Edit, here are my takeaways and clarifications. I'm pretty new to my position as manager, but I am authorized for loss prevention and I'm allowed to ask. I didn't ask to see her pocket, the mother chose to show it to me. If she had actually had the bracelet, I would have thanked her and wished her a good night, lol. As for why my associate didn't ask herself, it's not in her job description. I would not do this again. I don't get paid enough to care and wouldn't want to end up upsetting a kid over a cheap bracelet again. Taking it as a life lesson. Thanks for the advice. Story 7. I was just going to vent before, but now I really want to know if I am in the wrong. Today is my sister's graduation. I only found out yesterday because my mother told me. My sister didn't tell me, no one mentioned any kind of graduation. No one mentioned when. That's not enough time. My hair is matted, and I don't have an outfit. My mother told me to just put a scarf over it and put on anything while I see they have nice outfits ready. I have low self-esteem because I neglect myself. Letting people see me like this makes me feel worse about myself. I always try to put some effort in if I go into the public. On top of that, my mother knows that I babysit every Sunday. The person I babysit for relies on me because she has no one else to ask. How can I basically get a day's notice? It's my sister's high school graduation. I don't really care about missing it because I didn't go to her middle school one, or at least I don't remember going, and she doesn't even care about it. That's the thing. I saw her messages, and she said she wanted to be a high school dropout. She almost didn't graduate. She didn't tell anyone she had senior dues. She didn't tell anyone when she had to take her senior picture. She was going to leave her senior yearbook. My mother had to go pick it up. I only say that to explain that's why I don't think it should be that big of a deal. I cannot just up and go. It's almost like my sister didn't want us to go anyway. Story 8. My dad owns 2 houses, the one he lives in and one left to him by his grandparents. My older sister Carrie, who is 26 years old, and I, who am 24, rent the other house. We have lived there for almost 2 years. A few months ago, my sister and I, with our parents' permission, asked one of our cousins, Mary, who is 24, to move in since we had an extra room. Mary was going through a tough time because she had just gotten divorced and had no place to stay. She moved in shortly after. All 3 of us were paying an equal amount of rent. Shortly after Mary moved in, she started basically harassing my sister and me, trying to get us to go to church with her because she is a very devout evangelical Christian. She would try to guilt-trip us and make comments every time we did something she considered sinful. Even though we asked her multiple times to stop, she didn't. It eventually got so bad that my sister and I told Mary that if she didn't stop bringing up religion completely, we would have to ask her to find somewhere else to live, because she was creating a hostile environment. Mary told her dad that we threatened her, and her dad told my mom, who then said we were not allowed to kick Mary out because she is family and she just wants what is best for us. Mary got even worse after that, and Carrie and I started to notice that she was throwing away our stuff that she thought was demonic. That was the final straw for us. Carrie and I secretly looked for another place to live, and we found a new house that we can actually buy. We decided to go ahead with it and broke the news to Mary, telling her we would be leaving in about 2 weeks. Mary freaked out because she can't afford to rent the house on her own. She told our parents. My dad said we're allowed to do what we want, but my mom is super angry, saying we are leaving Mary to live on the street, and she's spouting a bunch of nonsense about how we've let the devil get to us. So, am I the asshole? I feel a little bad for Mary, but honestly, I also feel like she kind of deserves it. Story 9. Am I the asshole? I need brutal honesty on this piece of work. Last December, 2 classmates and I moved into a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. I share a bathroom with one of them. Early on, I noticed my housemate often didn't flush the toilet at night. When I brought it up, he said it was to save water and not wake me. I explained the water bill wasn't high and flushing wouldn't wake me, but he suggested I just pee on top of it. I realized we had a cultural difference and let it go. Next, the walls are thin and my room is behind the kitchen. My roommates would use the blender, play loud music, and yell, while I had to be extremely quiet at night because one roommate's room is a den with no door, and the other claims to have hyperacusis, very sensitive hearing. I adjusted my schedule, avoided showering or making noise at night, used my phone flashlight, and refrained from calls or cooking late, but still got complaints. For 6 months, I basically only went home to shower, sleep, and meal prep, spending the rest of my time on campus because I felt uncomfortable at the apartment. Despite barely being there, I paid my share of all the bills. Recently, I had to travel home for a surgical evaluation and then surgery, missing over 2 weeks at the apartment. When the bills came, I suggested to my roommates that since I hadn't been there for more than half the month, I should only pay half of the water and gas bills, since I didn't use them, but still cover my full share of electricity and Wi-Fi, since my stuff was in the fridge. One roommate responded harshly, saying she didn't understand why my absence should affect her finances, that we're adults, and if I had a problem, maybe I shouldn't have moved in. She accused me of asking her to pay my bills and told me to just say how much money I wanted. I clarified that I wasn't contesting previous bills or asking for payment, just proposing we fairly split the next month's gas and water since I wasn't there. She replied that there was nothing mature about my request. So here's my question. Am I the asshole for suggesting my share of the water and gas bills be reduced for the period I was away? For context, I was only asking to pay half for water and gas, not to avoid paying entirely. Story 10. Walmart misdelivered a sealed grocery package to me. It was addressed to a person named J. Doe. There are only a few people with that name in my city, so I looked them up online. One of them has the same apartment number as mine, so I tried calling her. The phone number disconnected. I called Walmart next and asked what to do with the package. They told me to keep it, and they accidentally let slip that the first name of the recipient was the same as the person I had called. They told me to keep it, and that they would send her another one. I opened the package out of curiosity but didn't open the items inside. Later that day, a roommate of J. Doe's showed up. He asked for the package, and I explained that Walmart told me to keep it and that they were sending J. Doe another. I offered him the original package, but when he found out I had opened it, he refused. He told me I shouldn't have opened it and that a good neighbor would have taken it to J. Doe instead. I told him he was wrong to take his frustration out on me but offered the package again. He refused and made another passive-aggressive remark. After he left, I looked up J. Doe's contact information again. Her address is only a block and a half away. I think J. Doe's roommate should have contacted Walmart, but was I the asshole in not at least looking at her address and taking it to her? And how could he have gotten my address anyway? Story 11. I am in the early stages of recovering from a huge drinking problem. I have been working with my therapist, and although I have improved a lot, I still drink a little every day. I have never been to Alcoholics Anonymous, as I haven't found a group that completely cuts out the religious aspect, especially since I live in the southern United States, but as I said, I've worked a lot with my therapist, so I'm not trying to do this by myself. My friends and family are aware and supportive. So I don't know if it's just the shame, guilt, or trauma talking, but since I still drink 1 or 2 drinks almost every day, do I need to tell a stranger who might move into my apartment? I want to say, I don't think I should live with someone who drinks heavily, so I would want to know this information. However, it's very personal, so I don't know if I would be the asshole for wanting to know beforehand either. It seems like a thin line between being invasive and also being important information for someone you live with to be aware of. I also don't know how you get diagnosed as an alcoholic other than recognizing unacceptable behavior while drinking. My abusive ex is the only one who ever called me an alcoholic, and I do not take that accusation lightly. So I have been treating my unhealthy habits as an addiction. I have gone 1 or 2 days without drinking, or even wanting a drink recently. It's a new development to not want to drink, but I would rather treat this as alcoholism than act like I don't have a problem at all. Story 12. Okay, so I, a 24-year-old woman, am working a summer festival this weekend, which means I work roughly 12-hour days that are very busy. My mom, who is 60 years old, texted me around 10 in the morning saying her power went out, and it's really hot in the house. We are currently in the middle of a heat wave, and it's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit with high humidity. I told her she doesn't have a key because I don't have the best relationship with her, and I didn't have time to give her one today. She kept begging, and eventually I had to leave her on read, and I felt really guilty about it, even though I'm pretty sure I was being perfectly reasonable. For full context, I included a transcript of the text conversation in this post. Mom, the power is out. Can I hang out at your apartment if it doesn't come on soon? It's super hot. Me, do you have a key? Also, it's pretty hot in my apartment even with the air conditioner on, so I don't know how much better it is. You might have more luck going to the library or a coffee shop. Mom, I don't have a key, but I'd rather hang out there than the library if I can. Me, I don't know how you'd get in without a key. Mom, can insert girlfriend's name here, let me in. Me, she's working until 4 today. Mom, can I get a key from you or do you not want me there? Me, I'm running around a lot today, I don't know when I could give you the key or how I'd get it back. Mom, that makes me feel great. Mom, a few minutes later, please. At this point, I just left her on read. For added context without going too deep into it, when I moved out about 2 years ago, she wouldn't let me take my mattress or my bed frame because she bought it for the room. And I couldn't take the air conditioning unit I had in my room because they were going to use it. It's been sitting in the corner of my old bedroom, uninstalled and unused, for the last 2 years. I purposely did not give her a key because I knew she would drop in unannounced since she never gave me personal space when I lived with her. Anyway, AITA for not letting my mom into my apartment when her power went out during a heat wave. Update 1. Hey everyone! A lot of people are asking if there are more reasons I don't have a great relationship with my mom, and the answer is yes. She refuses to acknowledge my sexual assault and has asked me repeatedly to visit a certain relative with her. Also, I've been her therapist for as long as I can remember and have been acting as the mom of the household until I moved out. Additionally, she lives with my 2 siblings, who are both 21, and has a boyfriend who lives about 90 minutes away. She is fully mobile and can drive. The reason I am so wishy-washy in my texts is because this is the best way my therapist, and I have found to communicate with her without her having a meltdown. I do wish I could be more blunt with her because I am a very blunt person otherwise, but it's really difficult. Story 13. So a bit of a backstory. From my mother's side, I have 3 uncles. 2 of them are truly amazing people, and the other one is a deadbeat. Growing up, being the angel my mother was, she had to bail him out of situations constantly, and he always took advantage of her kindness, seeing as one of my uncles cut him off, and the other one, while not cutting him off, doesn't help him financially from all I know. After my mother passed away, my father made it clear to him that he didn't give 2 shits about him, so as far as I know he hasn't contacted us in a long time, or at least not me. Now, my father passed away a couple of years ago, leaving me 3 houses. I have been renting 2 of them out, but the last one, being the house that I grew up in, I just didn't have the heart to rent to anyone, and since I live abroad, it has been just sitting there. Recently, the previously mentioned uncle out of the blue got in contact with me to see if I would be willing to rent the house to him, since one of his daughters had just gotten married, and was looking for a nice place to stay. I don't even know how he got my number or knew that what house I was renting or not. My best guess is that my other uncle was just being kind to him and told him about me in conversation. Anyway, I replied with a simple "get lost," and blocked him and promptly told my wife everything because I found the whole thing kinda bizarre and a bit humorous. She knows about the whole situation but has never met him. She knows that I despise him, but just like my mother, being the angel she has asked me if I had any bad blood with my cousin who needed the place, and quite frankly, I don't. She suggested that I think everything over with my cousin in mind, and if I still didn't want to, then that was that. I reconsidered, and though I don't have bad blood with my cousin, as I don't really know her, from what I heard from my other uncle, she is not as bad as my uncle is, though. Still, I don't want to be associated with him through anything, even my cousin. I told my wife that I wouldn't be comfortable with everything, and she understood. It has been in the back of my mind, however. I'm all made up about not renting to him, but I just wanted to get some opinions. Am I the asshole for this? Story 14. Am I the asshole for not apologizing to my dad? For context, my dad has always been hard to communicate with. He constantly belittles me, overreacts, and treats himself like a victim while bragging to his friends about being the perfect dad. I usually stay quiet to keep the peace. About a year ago, my dog's health started declining. It got worse, and last Monday we had to put her down. Near the end, she had incontinence issues, so we've been deep cleaning the house this week. The day we planned to clean, my dad got mad at my mom as usual and left for most of the day. We deep cleaned the entire house, floors, rooms, bathrooms, everything. The next morning, he comes back, ignores everyone, starts aggressively cleaning, and muttering how disgusting the house is. The second he sees me, he starts going off. How I sleep in, don't do anything, how he works in 30 minutes and has to clean the whole house, how my mom and I never do anything, and so on. Later, I went to work. Afterward, my friends asked to hang out, so I called my dad to ask permission with my coworker next to me. He starts screaming on the phone, "Who the heck do you think you are? You never do anything but you want to go out." Same speech about how I don't contribute. He's blamed me for everything recently, including my dog's incontinence. I called my mom afterward, and she said I could go out. 10 minutes later, he calls me again, cussing me out for not confirming with him. The next morning, as I'm leaving my room, he stops me, saying I need to respect him and act less grown. Minutes into the conversation, he gets angrier, screams again about how disgusting I am, how I'm never getting married, and finally calls me useless. That was it, I told him, and you wonder why your kids don't talk to you. Look how you act. You treat me like crap, then expect respect. He tried to deny calling me useless. I walked away. Later, he came to my room and said, "Who do you think you're talking to?" I told him straight up, "You, the man who called me useless." He said, "I'm your dad, my name asterisk." I replied, "Dads don't treat daughters like that." We haven't spoken since. Now he coddles my younger siblings more, doing stuff for them he never normally does, taking them out, getting them McDonald's, simply talking to them, things he never does. My mom wants me to apologize because he never will. But I always apologize, this time I'm done. So am I the asshole? Story 15. Am I the asshole for refusing to go to my friend's baby shower? My friend, who is 32 years old and let's call him John, and I, who am 34 years old, have been really good friends since we were kids. John's girlfriends are usually immature, don't treat him very well, and never get along with our friend group. Last year, he met his now girlfriend, who is 26 years old, Amy. She actually seemed really nice and we got along well. She moved in with him about 3 months into the relationship. I was happy for him, even though I felt things were going really fast. 6 months into their relationship, John called me one night saying he found out that Amy cheated on him with her ex-boyfriend. He was devastated. He also got a sexually transmitted disease because of the cheating. We talked a lot. I was there for him if he needed anything. He decided to break up with her. She packed her things and left. She was really mad at him for leaving her and threatened to tell on him because he had a cash job and didn't report his employment. A few weeks after that, he called me and said that Amy was pregnant and he didn't know what to do. The first thing he did was ask for a paternity test, and well, he is the father. He really wanted to build a family with Amy, so in the end, he decided to get back with her. John and I talked a lot. He says he doesn't quite forgive her yet, but is willing to work on the relationship. He said he wanted to establish rules in order to be able to trust her again, but she blames him for her cheating because he wasn't paying enough attention to her and stuff like that, that he is jealous and doesn't trust her, so she isn't accepting these rules. She is acting like John is the one that has to work on himself, and that she has nothing to do with it. After all of this, I really felt she was very immature and generally just not a very good person. I told John that it's his decision, but I won't pretend she is my friend. I told him that for social events with mutual friends and stuff, I will abstain from attending if she is going to be there. I can't pretend everything is fine. Maybe later down the line, but not for now and not for a while. Fast forward to today. My friend is having a baby shower this week. I refuse to attend. He is upset that I don't want to go. I told him that we already talked about this and I made it clear, but he keeps trying to convince me to go. He says it's a special occasion with friends and family to celebrate. Everyone there will be happy about the baby coming, and I would have to be there and pretend. Also, it is at Amy's parents' house, so I would be extremely uncomfortable being there. One of our friends agreed with me and didn't want to go, but he ended up saying he will go to keep the peace. Update, I just want to clear things up a bit. I am supporting my friend. I always make sure to be available for him if he needs to talk or wants to hang out. Me not going to the shower just means I won't be present on that day. But I did reach out and made it clear that I want to show him support in other ways, without having to be around all of Amy's family and friends. Thanks for making it to the end of today's video. I'd really appreciate it if you'd consider liking or subscribing, but I hope you have a nice day either way.